I'm Bruce Ellis. I live in Dartmouth. I brought in a patent model of an improved Winchester-Hotchkiss feed mechanism for an infantry rifle, which didn't work all that well.
In 1878, after the Winchester Repeating Arms Company's design was approved by the U.S. Army Ordnance Department, the assembly of the Hotchkiss military rifle and carbine models began. Patented 2 years earlier by its namesake, Benjamin B. Hotchkiss, the first model bolt-action firearm was issued to the U.S. military's Navy, infantry, and cavalry units in 1879. Through user experience, design issues arose. Positioning of the circular knob safety and magazine caused the stock to weaken. The design had to be revised, and second models were configured and distributed between 1880 and 1881. The M1883 would be the last Hotchkiss issue to see service, giving way to the superior models. Today, the Hotchkiss has its place in military history as the first centerfire bolt-action repeater to be used on the battlefield.
I'd like to welcome Bruce Ellis to Militaria. Mr. Ellis, you brought some more guns for us to look at today, and what exactly do we have in front of us?
We have, as usual, something unusual. We have the U.S. patent model of a Winchester-Hotchkiss bolt-action military rifle. And what we have here is the production version of the Winchester-Hotchkiss military rifle. This one's a little short, so it'd be a carbine. The only difference between a carbine and a rifle primarily is the length, but mechanically they're identical.
And primarily used by U.S. Army cavalry?
Yes, and infantry. These were sturdy little carbines. They were in use into the late 1800s. This was suitable for literally anything in North America if it happened to get in your way. The cartridges for this are in here, in the buttstock. And you've got the nose of the cartridge beating against the primed base of the other cartridge. To eliminate the possibility of a cartridge going off in here where your cheek is, they took a leaf from an earlier Springfield rifle designed by Major Chaffee. Chaffee had the same problem, but he made a little ratchet system to keep the cartridges a little bit further away.
And that's what we see in the buttstock.
That's what we see here. And that certainly increased the safety factor. The problem of a cartridge detonating while your cheek is against the buttstock really shakes the confidence of the soldier, which is why you don't see a lot of military rifles of that time period anywhere with magazines in the butt. The Hotchkiss series was sort of the last hurrah. It's an interesting physical variation and in terms of development, fairly important. These things have to be recorded and patented because they could be worth money. And that's precisely what Winchester did with this version. The guy who designed it originally was an American officer, Benjamin Barclay Hotchkiss, who went to Europe after the Civil War and decided that war was good business. And he designed repeating cannon, which are in use in every major naval force in the world. And in 1876, at the Centennial Exhibition, he had the Hotchkiss repeating rifle. The Winchester people who were there as well thought, this will take the new government cartridge because it's physically very strong. And so they bought him out, took the gun home. 3 years later, after much redesign, we wound up with this. And then as a refinement, they came up with this. It's a process.
Technology and war interlink. Technology increases with war. And these examples of these guns, we're seeing design changes in the actual mechanisms that are internally and externally. Technology drives all that, and that's what we see when war is involved in it. So they wanted to refine it and develop it. So they attempted, I guess, in this regard, to do that with this particular example.
That's
here with
correct.
the patent.
Yeah.
So what happened? Why didn't it actually go into production?
Well, turns out the ratcheting system on this just wasn't soldier-proof. It didn't like rust, it didn't like mud, it didn't like dust, of which there was a lot of out west, It was a good concept. One of the problems is that there's not a lot of wood in here. So dropping this would undoubtedly crack the stock. That was a legitimate problem with the design. Like I say, it wasn't soldier-proof. Other versions of this system were built up until the 1890s, well after the Indian Wars were over.
In this case, it is a very rare example then of obviously a non-production item.
Yes, yes. I tend to like stuff like that.
What is the future for your collection? Obviously, these are an integral part. Are you still collecting, or are you still adding to it?
Very much so. I've got the bug. At my age, it gets to a point where a little common sense has to kick in. And I'm looking for homes. One of the problems is most advanced collectors are my age or older. I've got to find some people under 70 who think this is just as neat as I think it is.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ellis, for bringing these interesting items from your collection. And of course, the great interest between an actual production model and a prototype model that we have here today.
Well, thank you very much. As you may be aware, rather fond of one-offs and strange stuff. It's been a pleasure to bring these out.
The interesting thing with the rifle today is the fact that that was actually used by a mounted soldier. There could have been U.S. Army soldiers going across the Midwest, and this is a typical movie image you see of the 7th Cavalry and charging across the desert, and it's kind of an interesting historic piece just to see that piece today.